Okay, so good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to this last session of the Astana International Forum. It is a very special session today, not only because of our esteemed panelists who each one come from a different perspective. We have a representative of the government, Mr. Alibek, His Excellency Alibek Zamaou, Vice Minister of Energy for Kazakhstan, and a representative from the private sector, Amer Mahasen, Country Managing Director for Power International Holding, a representative of academia, Jason Veisey is Energy Modeling Program Director of the Stockholm Environment Institute, and a representative of international organization, Anna Lobanova, Energy Connectivity Expert of ESCAP and UNEC. ESCAP is the Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific, and UNEC is the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. I am the moderator. I'm Dario Liguti, and I'm Director of Sustainable Energy at UNEC. And today's session will talk about a very important aspect in the energy transition, which is energy connectivity. The title of the session is Enhancing Energy Connectivity for a Resilient and Sustainable Kazakhstan Energy System. But it's not only about Kazakhstan, it's about the whole region. We say that energy connectivity is not only trading energy, but it's building relationships as well. It's creating a market, a regional market. And it's one of the panelists will show you the benefits of working on energy connectivity, enhancing energy connectivity between the different countries, not only between themselves, but as well towards other neighboring countries and other regions. Central Asia, as you know, as has been said many times during the forum today, sits in a very strategic location between Europe and Asia, north of South Asia, with plenty of resources, plenty of opportunities, and therefore plays a very strategic role in the energy transition and in geographical terms, in geopolitical terms. So, having said that, now I would like to give the floor to the panelists for their interventions, for their perspectives on this exciting theme, and we'll start obviously with Mr. Alibek Zamaou. So Kazakhstan has set an ambitious target in terms of carbon neutrality, by 2060. Is working on the new NDCs 3.0 that will be submitted to COP30. So what are the main challenges the country's energy system is facing in reaching this goal, and how can energy connectivity and infrastructure projects support its energy transition effort? Your Excellency, thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Dario. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to welcome you today. Clean energy and sustainable development are top priorities globally, and Kazakhstan is actively pursuing its own energy transition in line with global trends towards carbon neutrality, and we are committed to a balanced, phased approach that reflects our national circumstances, industrial development, and socio-economic needs. Kazakhstan is taking concrete steps to develop green energy sources and decarbonize the oil and gas sector. The government pays attention to the issues of reducing greenhouse emission, including methane. Kazakhstan joined the Global Methane Pledge in 2023 as a part of the COP29 in Dubai. Also, national oil and gas companies like Kazmunaygaz and Kazagaz joined the OGMP 2.0 partnership. We have made significant progress in reducing the gas flaring. In 2006, 3.1 billion cubic meters of gas was flared while producing 27 billion of gas. By the end of the 2024, the volume of gas flared was only 300 million cubic meter, while producing 59 billion cubic meter of gas. This means a reduction of more than 90%, which demonstrates an outcome of success of national regulation. As a participant of the Paris Agreement, Kazakhstan has set a goal of achieving net zero by 2060. For that, we plan to increase the share of renewable energy sources to 15% by 2030 and to 50% by 2050. The current level is more than 6%. In order to achieve the set goal by 2050, the Ministry will ensure the holding of annual auctions that has provided it successful, as well as implementation of large-scale projects with the strategic investors. Some of the support we provide are guaranteed purchase of renewable energy sources by a single purchaser, annual indexation of tariffs, guaranteed purchase of electricity at the auction price for 20 years. We're already working with the strategic partners aiming to rapid deployment of gigawatt projects with companies like Total, Masdar, as well as Chinese companies like China Power and Energy China. At the last COP29, we attracted projects for investment of $3.7 billion. Nuclear energy is also a reliable green energy source that also is capable of ensuring stable electricity supply. At COP29, we joined a declaration of tripling nuclear energy by 2050. Kazakhstan is the first world for uranium mining and also has a complete nuclear full cycle. Following the results of Republican referendum last year, it was decided to construct the first nuclear plant in Kazakhstan. To achieve the third goal of the Agency on Atomic Energy was established under the direct supervision of our President, which also focuses on the development and the long-term nuclear industry strategy. Hydrogen energy also represents an opportunity to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In September last year, we adopted the concept of the development of hydrogen energy until 2030. It aims to, first, diversify energy resources, reduce carbon emissions, and stimulate demand for hydrogen technologies in industry and transportation. Conduct research, pilot projects, and establish international cooperation. We have a significant potential for producing hydrogen using renewable energy sources, which makes our country a promising supplier of clean hydrogen international markets. At COP29, the head of state of Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and Uzbekistan signed an agreement on the implementation of the green energy production and the transmission project, the goal of which is to create a necessary infrastructure that allow the export of green energy from Central Asia to Europe and other destinations. The project will continue to strengthen our energy systems and will also contribute to environmental ambitions through green investments. At this stage, the issue of mobilizing green financing, technology exchange and development of significant scientific and technical potential remain important. The energy transition must have inclusive, pragmatic and take into account national priorities while building on common regional goals. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for a very comprehensive overview and very clear overview of Kazakhstan's energy strategy. Very comprehensive because it complies, it entails a number of directions. You mentioned balanced approach. You mentioned diversification of sources of energy. You mentioned the need of course, the green corridors and therefore the strengthening of the electricity transmission and distribution systems. You mentioned as well nuclear, which is a big choice. It's a big societal choice, not only a technology choice, but it's a societal choice that Kazakhstan has recently made, as well as, of course, more frontier, new transition ways, if you want, such as hydrogen, and the enormous, of course, the great steps done in gas flaring and maintaining and lowering the greenhouse gas emissions. You mentioned a very important point which opens the floor for the next speaker, which is the need, of course, for investments. Not everything can be financed by the government, even though Kazakhstan is a rich country and the government is a rich government. Not everything can be done by the government. And therefore, that's the reason why we have the private sector at this table. And so this is a perfect question for me to Amer. And Amer, so what does it take? What are you looking as a private investor when you look at Kazakhstan? And what makes you say, this is a place where I want to invest, as opposed to other countries? Or what are the challenges that you see, that you say, maybe this is a big risk, I need to find something to mitigate that risk? Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will try to make it quick, because Alibek was extending that introduction. First of all, let me introduce myself. First of all, it's my honor to join you today as the country managing director of Power International Holding for Kazakhstan, and to present our group, a diversified Qatari enterprise with a presence in over than 19 countries. By pursuing the vision of PIH, we invest heavily across a wide range of vital sectors: energy, infrastructure, real estate, telecommunication, hospitality, and services. Our entry in Kazakhstan makes more than a geographic expansion. We didn't come from Qatar to Kazakhstan to expand geographically, no. It reflects our confidence in the prosperity we see, potential we believe in, and our commitment to building long-term partnership in a country full of opportunities. We are guided by a clear principle to create lasting values. This means investing not only in the above-mentioned sectors, but we believe in investing in people, sustainability, and capacity building. In Kazakhstan, our focus aligns closely with the national strategic priorities of Kazakhstan, particularly in clean energy. It's our topic. Smart infrastructure, human capital, and sustainable urban development. We do appreciate our contribution and presence in this forum, and thank you for this opportunity, because we believe this forum is a valuable platform to open dialogue, transparency, and shared vision that shape and boost up the growth journey and the future potential role of Kazakhstan as a regional and secured hub for innovation and investments. Thank you. Back to your question. Of course, we will not mention here the positive part in our presence here in Kazakhstan. We know that Kazakhstan has the best strategic location, and logistically it's the best hub, and logistically, plus one of the richest country in the national resources, which we are here to contribute in this journey. It's for the government, for the economy, for a better life for the society. And we appreciate the efforts from the government that they are trying to facilitate the process and the procedures in order to make the investors' life easier and attract more and more investors. But as we all know, we still have a few challenges. I don't want to say that those challenges are ignored, but they are on the right track to be sorted out. Those challenges, let me be frank and direct to the main points. Like we can talk about regulations and legal issues. Like regulations, I believe those regulations should plant the confidence into investors to have like uniformity of regulations and transparency for this. And the regulators, in my point of view, they have to be like a businessman background, because they have to put themselves in the investor's shoes. And they have to create like a chamber or a committee to think about the win-win situation with the investors. Okay? And of course, they have to facilitate and expedite the decision-taking in all these long process and reduce as much as possible the bureaucracy. Okay? The second point, which I believe in, the tax implementation and supporting the local production. The tax, I believe in exempting the strategic projects and the factories, the local production, the manufacturers, the Kazakh workforce from tax. This will enhance the economic, will ensure a better life for society, and the most important part, they can compete with the surrounding and external markets while they are producing a local product supported, subsidized by the government, and the government supporting this product and protecting this product to be like a first option for all vendors, bidders, etc. So this will attract international investors to have a joint venture with Kazakh companies and establish such infrastructure and compete with the surrounding markets and offering Kazakh society better rates and better quality, better service. So the third point, I believe in the human capital. Locals in Kazakhstan should be supported. The government and all the public entities should invest heavily in enhancing the human capital and enhancing their skills, their qualification, because we are as expats or foreigners or international company, we believe in relying on the local workforce. The local workforce should be well educated, well trained to meet the need and the potential requirements for the government in upcoming 10 years. Like we need these positions, we need these skills, this qualification in place from now till like 10 years, aligned with the opening projects and opportunities that the government will offer. So the last point, sorry for getting too long, the last point is also the financial system, the banking system. the complications and the procedures, like if you need to transfer from country to country, like $50,000, you need a pile of documents. Proof of fund, the relationship, the reason, what is it for. So this a bit complicated because it's time consuming and effort. We should simplify whatever we can do in order to boost up. But at the end, we are in the right place, we are on the right land, and we are believing in this upcoming future for this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. After a very comprehensive overview of the Kazakh's energy strategy, we have a very comprehensive view of both the strengths and the challenges of working in Kazakhstan. I liked from the, of course, the strategic location and the natural resources, but I like that you mentioned as well the people of Kazakhstan as one of those resources in this country, which we all believe in it. And you mentioned 4 areas of challenges, very practical, with practical examples and concrete issues that you mentioned that certainly will not fail in having attracted the ears of the minister and everybody else in this audience about your view of what it takes to support the strategy that the government wants to implement. I won't go through the details, but certainly there are plenty of ideas on the table and concrete recommendations and suggestions for that. Now, and it is interesting because we have the strategy, we have the view again on, on what it takes to make that strategy happen from a private investor perspective, somebody who has a long-term perspective. Now, maybe Jason, I mean, you're not only working in NDC 3.0, which is obviously, the backbone of Kazakhstan strategy overall, not just in the energy space, but the approach that Kazakhstan has towards the Paris Agreement. But as well, coming back more, if you want, more specifically to the energy connectivity issue, which is at the same time is an infrastructure issue, but it's a regulatory issue, which was mentioned one of the points by Amer. It's a financing issue, another point that Amer and the minister both mentioned. So it's like a microcosm of all the opportunities and the challenges that have both the minister and Amer have highlighted before, but concentrated in one very specific issue, which is energy connectivity. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about that and what you see in this, in Kazakhstan and obviously in Central Asia overall. Thank you.
Thank you, Dario. I think I will remain seated. It's a pleasure to be here today. I want to thank UNECE and UN for organizing this panel, and it's a pleasure to be with such distinguished panelists this afternoon, talking to you about this very important issue of energy connectivity and its relationship to the clean energy transition and decarbonization in Kazakhstan. So first, just a couple of words about myself. I'm the Energy Modeling Program Director at the Stockholm Environment Institute. And for those of you who don't know us, we are an international nonprofit research organization, and we really focus on doing integrated analysis that supports decision making, so very applied work. And we have had the privilege of working here in the region for quite a while, more than 10 years, doing the type of work that I do, which is quantitative analysis of energy systems and modeling the way that energy systems might develop in the future, which is an extremely interesting topic, especially in a country as diverse and dynamic as Kazakhstan, embedded in this very diverse and dynamic region, with so much growth going on, so much potential, and so many energy resources at their disposal, everything from fossil resources to renewable energy. So I'll talk a little bit about the question that you raised, Dario, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of the work that we've done looking at energy futures in Kazakhstan and in the wider region, and then looking at the role that energy connectivity specifically could play in facilitating a low-carbon energy transition and what that would mean. So we've been doing modeling work around this question for a while, including in a very important project that we did with UNECE specifically on this issue of energy connectivity and its relationship to energy supply and costs and the stability of the energy system in the future. And what our work has shown is that increased connectivity, and in particular electricity grid connectivity, which is relatively low in the region right now, could play a really important role in helping to deliver a cleaner, more secure, and more affordable energy supply. Why cleaner? Because when you improve the connections among electricity grids, it makes it easier to use the best quality renewable resources, which are often now at the marginal level, they are the cheapest resources to exploit for additional marginal generation. And it allows you to use those resources in a more efficient way across the entire region. Why more secure, more stable? Because it increases the flexibility available to grid operators. When grid operators are thinking about the issue of decarbonization, very often they're challenged by the problem of renewable intermittency. And what's going to happen as you try to integrate more and more renewable resources on the grid in the future? This is a major concern here in Kazakhstan, as in every country where I work, and I work all around the world. Transmission, better transmission connectivity can be a very important element in managing that intermittency because it allows geographic smoothing of renewables, meaning that if you average your renewable generation across a wider geographic area, you tend to buffer the fluctuations in demand or in supply of those resources over time, but also it gives grid operators another option for dispatching if renewable resources on their local grid are not providing enough generation to meet requirements. And then why reduced costs? Really because of all of the reasons that I've been talking about, especially the ability to access high quality but low cost renewable resources that might not have been available if you didn't have better transmission to access them. And this is true at the country level, so within Kazakhstan, but also at the regional level. In work that we've done over the last year, for example, we've found that improving electricity grid connectivity in the region could save over $1 billion per year in the medium to long term at the regional level. And these findings about stability, about decarbonization, and about cost effectiveness hold within Kazakhstan as well, and they have key implications for the carbon neutrality strategy by 2060, how do we get there, as well as what's going to happen with the next short to medium term climate plan in the NDC 3.0. Now I should say that it's not necessary to have better transmission connectivity or energy connectivity in general to decarbonize the energy system. There are ways to imagine a lower carbon energy system in Kazakhstan with the same grid infrastructure that we have today. But it will certainly be easier, more cost effective, faster, if energy connectivity and improved grid connectivity in particular is an ingredient in those decarbonization plans. So, for example, in recent modeling that we've done for Kazakhstan, we've found that if Kazakhstan is on a deep decarbonization trajectory, if they're heading toward that 2060 goal, that the investment requirements to get there could be lowered by 8 to 10% over the long term between now and 2050 if there is improved grid connectivity as an important element of the mix. So when you're thinking about the level of investment that's needed to decarbonize the energy system here, it's denominated in the billions of dollars. A 10% savings on that is significant money that we're talking about. We've looked at different possibilities for grid connections within Kazakhstan, and it's clear, and with Kazakhstan and its neighbors, and it's clear that better connectivity among the major electricity producing regions of the country, between north and south and between west and north, that is an important thing to look at. It could be an important element of a lower cost decarbonization strategy, but also connections to other neighboring countries. The Kyrgyz Republic and Uzbekistan could be important over the long term as well. I think when we think about the NDC and what role we could have increased connectivity play in the NDC, an obvious challenge there is that many connectivity projects require international coordination. And NDC planning is fundamentally, it's a national exercise. And it's a rather short-term exercise. We're talking about a 10-year planning horizon. So that becomes a challenge. How can we get other countries to the table and in time to produce an NDC and make that commitment? But in Kazakhstan's case, I think the potential for connections within the country, better connecting the electricity producing regions within Kazakhstan offer an important element that should be considered in the NDC. Our modeling has shown that this would allow, just improving the connections within Kazakhstan would allow, for example, greater integration of wind energy, taking better advantage of wind resources in the north and in the west, delivering them to load centers in the south, and reduce dependency on gas, or even higher costs, carbon capture and storage options with fossil fuels in the long run, as Kazakhstan moves toward the 2060 carbon neutrality goal. So I think that's my answer. I think that really what's key here to remember is that connectivity is an element which can facilitate the low carbon transition, whether it's on the short to medium term with the NDC or in the longer term. In terms of the carbon neutrality strategy, it facilitates that by improving flexibility, providing better access to low-cost resources. It drives the costs down, makes it more efficient, makes it easier to decarbonize, even on a faster trajectory. And I do hope that it is an element that's considered in the NDC here. Ultimately, the NDC is a national exercise, and those measures in the NDC will come from the national government and from stakeholder consultations. But improving that grid connectivity, I think, is an important element to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I think it's you made a very strong business case, I believe, to invest in energy connectivity with numbers, timelines, and what needs to happen in terms of governance decisions around how to bring forward this opportunity. And it is one of those, there are few, in the energy space, there are few solutions which are, as Amer said, win-win. Most of the difficulty that governments and the Vice Minister has is trade-offs between energy security, energy affordability, and energy sustainability. There are some solutions, some things that actually are positive for the three legs of the energy trilemma. Probably energy connectivity is one of the few ones that actually is able to impact positively both the three legs of the energy trilemma. I want to pick up on your point around regional cooperation. You mentioned as well, already connecting different regions within Kazakhstan, which is as big as Western Europe. So we need to realize that. And so certainly already connecting regions within Kazakhstan is a massive engagement, is a massive investment. But with the neighboring countries involves cooperation. It involves international cooperation, involves setting agreements, setting protocols. The Vice Minister mentioned the agreement that Kazakhstan has done to work with Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan, exactly, for the Green Corridor, following the COP29, which was one of the issues that we as UN worked with the COP29 presidency, Azerbaijani presidency, in launching, and we're very happy to be in one of the countries that has signed up for that engagement on the green corridors. But nobody better than Anna can tell us about what role you see international organizations in supporting. You heard the vision of the minister, you heard the requirements, the ambitions of the private sector and the challenges. You heard the potential that comes from research and quantified research is out there. So how can we, you and I, but I'm the moderator, so I'm not going to answer my question, can actually help where we can bring added value and make this happen? Please, Anna.
Thank you so much, Dario, for the question. and good afternoon, everyone. And it's greatly mentioned all the ambition we have in the region and specifically in Kazakhstan in terms of achieving net zero. And as Jason emphasized, energy connectivity is one of the very important tools on how it's possible to get there. And there are, of course, many things which are required when we talk about energy connectivity. And I see that international organizations can play the coordinating role in terms of moving forward towards achieving this goal. Because what is important, there are a couple of things what's important to mention when we talk about developing projects. First, that international organizations, both including ESCAP and UNECE, together we cover more than half of the countries in this world, and we see examples not only inside the region, not only in Kazakhstan, but we also have access to other countries and experience what they have. And we greatly believe in sharing this experience. We believe that it's important to learn from each other when you have a goal, and it's not necessarily to go all the way and have all the steps and make the same mistakes. It's important to have experience from someone who've already done this process and implement this in your region and in your country. And I really believe that Kazakhstan has first great ambitions, but also has everything what needed to achieve this. And as international organizations, we will be very happy to support on this. And also I would like to, when we talk about connectivity, I would like to put a little bit more attention on grids and pick up on the COP29, which you mentioned. And apart from Green Corridor pledge, there was another pledge on energy storage and grids pledge. And I'm happy to emphasize that Kazakhstan was one of the countries which signed this pledge. And the reason I'm talking about grids is because this is the backbone of connectivity development, and not only inside within the country, connecting different parts of the country, but also connecting to other countries. And there are great examples of very ambitious projects which Deputy Minister mentioned on Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan Green Corridor development, but same Azerbaijan, Georgia, Romania, Black Sea undersea cable. And grids is what is driving this project, and this is what can help it happen. And I'm happy to present the work today, what we did in UN ASCAP on assessing grid readiness for power system transformation in Asia and the Pacific. There was a pilot study, and the idea behind this study is to show policymakers and experts where grid readiness is at the moment. And couple of words about the study. It was done, the methodology was developed together with CFOL, Sustainable Energy Fall, international organization. And we tried to make sure that the assessment we did is scalable, so you can add different indicators or remove indicators depending on what country you do assessment for, because we greatly emphasize that each country is very different in its context, so it's important to look in details. Then it's adjustable, so you also can adjust to the national context, and it's we also make sure that you can replicate the same methodology for other countries if you would like to add more countries or region in the assessment. So we looked at more than 50 indicators all over energy system with the emphasis on power system transition. So what are the goals of the country and where the country is in terms of the renewable energy development and investment readiness. Then we looked at the grids development itself, the transmission capacity or private sector participation, for example. we looked at the grid operation both in distribution and transmission, and of course we also looked at the consumer side. If if there are social, if there are consumer consultations available in the country and so on. And on the screen you can see the QR code to access this study. Just a couple of brief conclusions from the study. First, we see great ambitions, and we see interest from countries, and the countries which signed COP29 pledge, of course, leaders and pioneers in this movement. However, and we see some progress, but however we see that the progress is unfortunately quite slow, and as I mentioned, one of the reasons for this study is to increase an awareness and to put more attention on grid development. Because of course it's important to have goals and to set ambitious goals, but it's also important to have a path to this goal. And grid development is one of the steps on this path. And from international organization side, we would be very happy to support countries in this journey and to bring experience from other parts of the world and from other countries to make this path for you easier. Thank you.
Thank you, and I particularly like your last sentence, and learn from others, because as you know, very recently there's been a very, how can I say, visible result of not planning properly, which was a blackout in Spain, in Portugal, and the south of France. And so Kazakhstan and countries in Central Asia have the benefit of learning from the mistakes of others, which is always a good position to be, because typically those type of mistakes are very costly. And so that the reason why we do international organization studies and we bring best practices, we show as well what hasn't worked in certain countries, so that people don't make the same mistakes. And I think that is a very important, often under-considered or under-appreciated aspect of this regional collaboration. It's not only about establishing energy connectivity, but it's about sharing knowledge, sharing technologies, sharing experiences. It's a very, very important aspect. So now I would like to see whether there is any burning question from the audience. I have plenty of questions for the panelists, but of course if there is anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question. Yes?
Hello, thank you very much. I wanted to ask a question about more precisely the innovation here. Basically, well, it's quite known now that there is a huge effort for Kazakhstan to turn into nuclear power. Since it has been announced now there's 93 power plants that are going to be built. And I was wondering if there was, even though the construction has been completed, if there has been already some precise plan, like for example, this is a huge investment. Will there be in the long term the whole uranium supply chain be here in Kazakhstan with some plans to have, for example, some a way for enriched uranium or to convert it? And also, is this power plant going to serve only Kazakhstan, or this electricity will also be shared across Central Asian countries? Is there more precise information about how the nuclear energy will have a role in the energy mix in Kazakhstan and the region?
So there's a lot of questions. Please.
Okay, thank you for your question. I will try to answer. Yes, you are right. Our government is planning to build 3 nuclear plants. The locations are already selected in the Soviet Union time, because you cannot place nuclear plant in any place you want. It should be whether the river or sea or lake. So we have first plant will be on Balkhash lake, The second plant probably will be on the Caspian Sea, and we have Kurchatov region that was selected in a Soviet time, that the place where the rivers and the grid system is already developed. So regarding the regional supply, of course, if we are in a proficit in a night time, so we can deliver the electricity to our neighbor countries as Kyrgyzstan or Uzbekistan if they need. But you know, one plant can be built in 10 years, so 3 plants, it's almost 30 years, so we'll see in the future. Thank you. Introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you. Good point.
That guy was from. Where are you from? Okay. Journalist? Student. Okay. Welcome.
Hello everyone, my name is Madina. I'm from Kazakhstan IMA company, and I have a question for last two speakers because I found the energy connectivity topic quite interesting and intriguing. I'm not fully familiar with it, so I have a question regarding more of plans and like the backbones of what is happening in there in terms of not the plan itself, but like how does it operate? So I have a question regarding the machinery and what kind of equipment does it require, and does, for example, Central Asia have it, and like could it be transported from somewhere, or else maybe we could use something up to date like AI technology to help it, to modernize it as well, and yeah, so something like that.
I can start, maybe. Thank you so much for your question. Maybe I'll start a little bit with the background from UN ESCAP, because in ESCAP we have a roadmap for energy connectivity development, and as international organization we operate with governments. We have 53 member states inside ESCAP, and all 53 member states agreed that energy connectivity is an important mechanism, an important tool, and here we talk specifically about power sector connectivity. So we don't talk about gas and or oil, but within power system connectivity, we cover a wide range of not only infrastructure, wide range of topics, not only infrastructure, but also, let's say, soft powers, and including regulations or sharing knowledge, what we talked about before. And coming to your question, for each region, it works differently. There are different mechanisms on how connectivity can be implemented, starting from bilateral agreements in between countries, where countries just agree to sell each other profit of electricity, to the most extended point, and now currently that's European Union, where they have common market in between countries, where they don't just trade for bilaterally, but they trade using market mechanism. So there are different levels how it can be done, and it's up to countries to decide what mechanism they use. Coming to specifically to Central Asia, as you know from the history, Central Asian countries were connected from Soviet Union time, and during Soviet Union time there was a single system how countries operated, and there was not only electricity but also water involved, whereas during proficit time there was more hydro, and during winter times Kazakhstan supplied gas to the countries. So there is already history in the region how countries were connected, and there was already infrastructure, but of course currently it's getting outdated, and Tajikistan left the system and reconnected only last year. So it's a lot to be done, and there are different mechanisms, as I said, and up to countries to decide how they want to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, we have 3 minutes, so maybe
Yeah,
very quickly, because I think we will leave one last question, because at 6 p.m.
I will just say, just very quickly, yes, we're looking at electricity system connectivity. That's high voltage transmission for us. Could be AC, it could be DC. That technology exists already in the region and it's deployed. We're talking about scaling it up.
Thank you. One last question, please. Do you have the microphone?
Hello, my name is Dasha and I'm engineering student, and I think my question is more to Mr. Alibek. You mentioned that Kazakhstan could become a renewable energy supplier. However, over the past 5 years, the share of the electricity produced by renewable sources increased from 1.5 to almost 6%, which is like around 4%, which is really, really slow. So my question is, how exactly do you envision the implementation of Kazakhstan's role as a renewable or clean energy supplier, and what concrete steps can be taken to accelerate this transition more effectively within the country also, so that our clean energy would be more than 6% out of the whole energy? Thanks.
Thank you. Very good question. Yes, you are right. We lost 3-4 years to just start our new strategy on the renewables. So we have amended our legislation. We created a system of purchasing green energy and selling green energy. So we spent a lot of time to establish our green energy system. And as I told in my presentation, in a few years we are going to construct a big wind farms with 3-4 gigawatts with Chinese companies, with Total from France and Nazar from United Arab Emirates. So I think in 2015 we will reach 30% of the green energy. Thank you. Well, also, we are developing the solar panels, and, because Kazakhstan has a vast territory, so we have a lot of wind and a lot of sun. So we are open for investors to come here and invest in green renewables. We will give you preferences in tax preferences, in legislation, flexibility. So we're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I have to be honest, I'm very happy that we had 3 questions from the audience and 3 from the younger generation. So you can see that the younger generation is very much engaged in the future of Kazakhstan, and they have questions and they want to see exactly the answers, and which is great, and it's very, very good. Please join me in thanking our panelists for an excellent. Thank you very much, and enjoy your evening in Astana. Thank you. Bye-bye.